speaker is, before going to go for the details about the speaker, next session is about national innovation. Now this national education policy is one concept, national innovation and startup policy. As I told you from DM to the CEO, everybody are talking about startups, entrepreneurship and innovation, all those concepts. So now really we need some ideas. What is this national innovation and startup policy? So for this, ma'am, really we welcome you. She is Professor B. Charimati, and she's heading the Department of Management Studies, Pondicherry University. And apart from this, she's a board member, Pondicherry University, Step Up, and a section 8 company. Here, madam, we welcome you surely, because I think Jaishankar helped me to bring, because madam is quite busy. So Jaishankar recommendation was, ma'am. Thank you so much for your acceptance, ma'am. So we welcome you. Now I request Srivastava to read the biodata, ma'am.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, madam, from IIC and ST University. And going through the profile, the complete resume, I'm so much excited to see that there is a lot of work that madam has done. And now, madam is going to share the information about innovation and startup. And if I look into the profile, the entire profile says madam has worked in some of the most significant fields of startup and entrepreneurship. Now, starting from heading the Department of Management Studies and the areas of research and areas of guidance madam has done, a tremendous work has went into accounting, financial reporting, finance, entrepreneurship, and human resources management. She was the recipient of UGC Junior Research Fellowship. Madam, you are the career awardee of AICT in the INR 1.5 million project plan, winner of Young Commercialist, and it's been awarded twice for Indian Commerce Association, winner of Young Research Award. And if I start going through the awards, there are n number of awards that you have bagged, and you have set a tremendous example for your students, and you have guided many people. You have published so many papers. It's like showing that the leaders walk the path first to show the upcoming generation, like this is the way that you need to do. Currently serving as Board of Director in Pondicherry University. She has been instrumental in leading the international collaborative project with the leading Australian universities and Deakin University and University of Canberra of IFRS and SMEs. And madam has been the director of Board of Director in the Pondicherry University Setup Hub, a PUSH, a Section B non-profit company, and president of Indian Accounting Association Pondicherry branch. She has held administrative roles such as faculty, associate, advisory, placement and corporate relations, and deputy coordinator, UGC SAP GRS, Department of Management Studies, and she has been convener for placement committee, School of Management, dean and assistant dean, Students Welfare Women Association, and member of Women's Cell. And she has done tremendous work in bringing MOUs and evaluation committees to the universities. And as a part of USR, she has conducted a number of trainings out of the best trainings of skill of governance, and she has been the elected member of local body for Pondicherry government and trained police personnel besides being resource person in many training programs. She has headed government projects and government of Puducherry, such as Industries Department, Police Department, Local Administrations Department, and Planning and Research Development. She has visited different countries to share her knowledge of students under her guidance, and she has papers, 100 plus national international conferences, authored 3 textbooks including financial accounting, and published by one of the most renowned ASCHAN publications. And she has published local international journals, and of course she has conducted so many workshops, and she has been instrumental in creating that trends in the university. Her main motto is to get committed and being dedicated in sharing the knowledge and developing the upcoming generation in all possible means and making India as a best entrepreneurship country in coming years. You have put tremendous efforts in creating the next generation legacy, madam, and we are so much privileged to be honored to be part of this session, and you are being the speaker. Looking forward to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining, and here we can start the session, madam.
Yeah, Uh, Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So first, I should appreciate the efforts taken by this SVU College of Engineering because this is a very, very apt topic. You have chosen the combination of NEP and NISP because we all know that NISP is a part of NEP. So now Professor Jayashankar has given a bird's eye view and more details about the NEP. And I should also thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity, because as a director of the Section 8 company of our university, I have been talking to different people, different platforms to encourage the young faculty and students to come forward to start up their own enterprises. So in this line, when Professor Jayashankar ji called me, immediately I accepted whatever the situation here, because today is a celebration here. We have Pongal as a very important festival, but I made everything completed, and now I am with you to share my information on NISP. And can I share the PPT, sir?
Ma'am, please go ahead, ma'am. Please share the.
So I'm sharing. Can you see my PPT?
Yes, madam. It is visible, madam.
So I would like to also throw some light on the journey that our university has to become a technical company or whatever. I think some background. Hello. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is audible and visible, madam. Both.
No, but I am getting an echo sound. Whatever I speak is repeated. So let me first start with the background of this NISP. We all know India aspires to become a $5 trillion economy by 2024. And to reach this mark, it needs to evolve systems and mechanisms to convert the present demographic dividend. And we all know the India is having a very rich demographic dividend of having very, very young population, right? So to convert this present demographic dividend into high quality technical human resource capable of doing cutting edge research and innovation and deep tech entrepreneurship. So the startup ecosystem in India gained good visibility in January 2016 when the Startup India program was launched. The government saw it as an avenue to resolve India's rising unemployment issue and build a culture of innovation in the country. Startups take a lot from the founders, so it is important for the founders to be in a good frame of mind. It must be a good time for them personally to start. And also, founders must be able to identify the timing of the market. For student founders, it becomes challenging because they have to juggle between school and work. On the flip side, students have nothing to lose. So even if the startup does not work, they are still in college. Now coming to the National Innovation and Startup Policy, to facilitate the startup ecosystem, government bodies, especially the Department of Promotion for Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, and Niti Aayog, the think tank of India, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, many other institutions, along with the private players, have created grants which enable educational institutions to set up technology business incubators or bio incubators. So the National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 for students and faculty of higher educational institutions will enable the institutes to actively engage students, faculties, and staff in innovation and entrepreneurship related activities. So this framework will also facilitate Ministry of Education in bringing uniformity across educational institutions in terms of intellectual property ownership management, technology licensing, and institutional startup policy, thus enabling creation of a robust innovation and startup ecosystem across all educational institutions. Coming directly to the thrust areas of National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019. So they have 6 important areas. First one is strategies and governance, that is A, higher educational strategies and governance for promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. And the second one is norms for faculty and students driven innovations and startups. And the third one is incubation and pre-incubation support. Fourth one is intellectual property ownership rights for technologies developed at higher educational institutions. Then fifth one is pedagogy and learning interventions for supporting innovations and startup. And the last one is entrepreneurial performance and impact assessment. So these are the 6 areas of national innovation and startup policy. So I was hearing Professor Jayashankar also just when I joined. So there is a connection between this new educational policy and new innovation and startup policy. So many institutions have started conducting audit courses on entrepreneurship, design thinking, and they have created specialized programs to support aspiring entrepreneurs. In fact, many institutions offer top-class mentors, experts across industries on a full-time basis, exposure to other startups in similar domains, and assistance in raising investments, all without any changes or a stake in the startup. They also have labs to foster creativity and imagination among entrepreneurs and startup employees, and to help them inculcate self-reliant skills such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, computational thinking, adaptive learning, and so on. So to facilitate the startup ecosystem, both the government and non-government organizations are taking a lot of steps. And some of the incubators in institutions are accessible to the selected startups round the clock and through the week. And they also provide operational advice, banking support, guidance for IPR laws and applications. And the best way to start up your entrepreneurial journey is to experience it by directly jumping into it. Another way would be to join a startup as an internship or intern or employee and help them grow. So focused programs like Startup School India can be a good kickstart for aspiring entrepreneurs. So here the connection between the startup ecosystem and new educational policy I could see very vividly. So preparing a roadmap for entrepreneurship is given a most important or it is given utmost thrust in new educational policy. So given the explosive pace of technological development allied with the sheer creativity, the new educational policy promotes student entrepreneurs with the exposure to vocational education in partnership with industry and in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goal 4.4. So integration of vocational education with educational offerings in all institutions by choosing focus areas based on skill gap analysis and mapping of local opportunities will develop entrepreneurial competencies besides capacities, and will go a long way to make vocational education a part of the larger vision of the holistic education. Then coming back to the era of specializations, as part of holistic education, the ideas of imaginative and flexible curricular structures enable creative combinations of disciplines for study. So NEP provides for rigorous research-based specialization by giving opportunity for multidisciplinary work, including industry, opportunities for internship with local industry, business houses, actively engaging with the practical side of learning, all of which are bound to give impetus to entrepreneurship. And as you are a technical institute, focus on technical education point also I should emphasize. So the focus on technical education is decisive for India's overall growth and development and is well addressed in new educational policy. So the technical sectors like engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, catering technology, they are all continue to demand well qualified individuals, and hence close collaboration between industry and institutions to drive innovation and research is actively encouraged in NEP. So since these domains will become part of the multidisciplinary education, and curriculum will be renewed with a focus on opportunities to engage deeply with the field making, the education will be entrepreneurial oriented. So to aid all these activities, new educational policy proposes National Committee for the Integration of Vocational Education so as to promote integration of education with industry, and the National Research Foundation to seed, grow and facilitate research by funding competitive proposals by liaison between researchers and relevant branches of industry. So coming back to the thrust areas of new, that is national innovation and startup policy, I'll take one by one so that we will be having very clear-cut idea of what is covered in NISP. So to start with, so these are the highlighting features of the policy. So I just give this and again I'll go one by one. So creation of innovation fund for supporting innovative projects and startups by allocating minimum of 1% of the institution's total budget is a very, very path-breaking policy they have brought in. Then students and faculty can take academic break for a semester or year to work on their startups. Credits for working on innovative prototype or business models are given. Then 2 to 9.5% equity stake in startup or company by institute incubator is allowed, and complete ownership of IPR by the inventor in case of non-usage of institute facilities or resources is granted, and services to be offered by the institutions in lieu of equity, fee-based or zero payment model. So these are the big highlights. These are the 4 or 5 big highlights of the NISP. Now we'll go one by one. So the first point which we have seen in the slide, that is A, higher educational institution strategies and governance for promoting innovation and startup, that is in entrepreneurship. So in that, the first one is creating innovation pipeline and pathways for entrepreneurship. So coming to the strategies and governance, major dimensions of higher educational strategy, and it covers the strategy and should formulate university or higher educational level document in accordance with the NISP. So your college or your university should first develop a policy for your own in accordance with the NISP. So every higher educational institute should have its own national, its own innovation and startup policy. Because your state, Andhra Pradesh or Telangana has its own startup policy, and the nation as a whole we have NISP. So in line with these two, you have to have your own institute innovation and startup policy. Okay, there are some mistakes in the words. Please don't mind because I have prepared in a hurry. And second is these can be achieved through mission statements rather than stringent control systems. So whenever you are having these innovation and startup policy related activities, you always have a mission statement that I would definitely graduate my institution as an engineering college. I would like to see 10 startups which are going to be graduated this year end. So you have mission statements and you want to promote some area which is you are very, very special in. So like that, rather than stringent control system, these mission statements will help you to go forward in the innovation and startup arena. Then entrepreneurial agenda should be the responsibility of a senior person. Like now Mrs. Rama Sri and she is organizing this workshop, and some of the coordinators are there. But I am very happy to see that the principal of the college has taken a lead. Like senior person at the level of dean, director, even HODs, equivalent position with less hierarchy and autonomy, they should have the responsibility of this entrepreneurial agenda. Unless the head of the particular institution realizes the importance of this entrepreneurship and innovation, it is very difficult to carry out any activity. Even to conduct this workshop or webinar, the support of the higher authority is required. So they should have the responsibility of having this entrepreneurial agenda at a very, very first thing in the institution. Then intra and inter-institutional relation to promote E&I agenda, and institute can provide services and facilities to outside entrepreneurs too. So it is not only enough if you have your that is within your institution or college, if you have this innovation and entrepreneurial activities, you should also have inter-institutional relationship. For example, you are very, very good expert in one area, and another area you want expertise, that can be obtained by having inter-institutional relationship with other engineering colleges or IITs or other important premier institutes. So you should have intra and inter-institutional relationship to promote E&I agenda, because some labs may not be available in your college, which may be available in other colleges. So this inter-institutional relationship will definitely help. And it is not only enough if you promote the culture of entrepreneurship and startup and innovation culture in your institute, but you can also support the outside entrepreneurs. So facilities to outside. So even the public or even your people who have gone out of your college, alumni and other people can also be allowed to incubate their ideas in your incubators. Hope your engineering college has incubation facility. So you have Innovation Council being set up as per the AICTE's and MHRD, that is Ministry of Education's direction. And whether you have a incubation center in your college?
No, ma'am. We are at a primitive stage. Actually, okay. Mahila University TBI is there. So one more TBI they are not issuing us.
Okay.
We are at initial.
You might be having the entrepreneurship development cell.
Yeah, that is there, ma'am. That we are doing. Yeah, it is there.
So this is another point. Then in the strategy and governance, one more important point, very, very important point is resource mobilization plan. Okay, what is that resource mobilization plan? So as a university, central university, even we have faced this problem, because we have started Startup Center in way back in 2016 as per the direction of the then MHRD, and we were not having any funds to start our activities. So though we had a center named Startup Center, Pondicherry University Startup Center, but we were not having any funds because UGC has not allocated any fund exclusively for this particular purpose. So they were asking, where is the budget allocation? So the new policy has clearly stated that every institution should allocate 1% of the total annual budget. So if your college's budget is, say, 100 crore, clear? So 1% of that. So 1% means 1 crore should be given to the startup and innovation center or whatever incubator for that activities you have to spend that money. And raising fund from diverse sources like state and central agencies, like Niti Aayog is giving Atal Incubation Center 10 crore they are giving, Atal Community Innovation Center, which we have recently secured in our university. I am the project leader for that. I am so happy to have going to establish that Atal Community Innovation Center with a 2.5 crore funding from Niti Aayog. And there are a lot of state and central government agencies which are ready to give incubation funding. That has to be really sourced out by the educational institutions like engineering colleges or universities. Then third important source we can think of is CSR. You know, every company, listed company, is supposed to spend average 2% of the 3 years net profits for CSR activities. So these funds can be tapped by all the educational institutions, especially, for example, if you take IT companies, they concentrate more on educational initiatives and health initiatives. So you have to identify which corporate or which sector which is ready to give funds for their CSR funds, corporate social responsibility funds for the incubation facility. Then there are a lot of government schemes also available. You name a particular startup idea, I can give you which organization or which department in the government is giving support for that. So there are n number of avenues available. Even individuals who have startup ideas, students, scholars can definitely get the required funding. And final resource available, the option available is sponsorship and donations from alumni network. So if you see the case of very big institutions or well-established premier institutions both in India and abroad, the alumni network and leveraging on the alumni network is very successful. So if you take Delhi University, they have got then Aligarh Muslim University. Same way, if you take Harvard, Stanford, they are all being donated by the alumni who have studied there, and they are having state-of-the-art facilities for anything and everything. So resource mobilization is very important strategy, because without funding, we cannot even think of starting our own incubation facility. So everything will be in the idea stage, and we need some resources to encourage the young faculty, young students who are having worthwhile ideas. Clear? They have to be supported. So they need some money to test their ideas. So for all this stuff, and again, you need to have your own incubation facility, like a fab lab or market space or whatever you want, no, some kind of labs, some kind of facilities, legal support, marketing support, finance support, all these things you need to provide. Means you need to have your own funding to establish this incubator facilities, right? So then this is very important. Then last one is all educational institutions should join the Institutions Innovation Council network and participate in Smart India Hackathon. There are n number of hackathons which are conducted by Niti Aayog and other agencies. And for higher educational institutions, having innovation council is one important thing. Then do some innovation activities in that particular council to encourage faculty and students, and then participate in the ARIA ranking, Atal ranking of institutions innovation achievement. So the ARIA ranking is given for the innovation culture, what is prevailing in any higher educational institution. So this is the first feature of the policy, and in that the first division in the governance and strategy, creating innovation pipeline and pathways for entrepreneurship. So for that, what the higher educational institutions should do. So HEIs should ensure maximum students participate and go through pre-incubation process of problem identification, solution development, proof of concept validation, and prototype development, business models, and proposal development. So every institution should develop, should encourage the student. There are say 2,000 students in your college, at least 20% of the student should be having this mindset. This culture should be imbibed in them. So I can incubate an idea. I have this idea. So some ideas for solving some problem, solution development, or they have some concept. So can we validate that concept? So student, maximum number of students should be encouraged and to participate in these processes. Then second important thing is higher education institutions should link and collaborate their incubation unit with the external agencies and ecosystem enablers and provide network support to incubate startups. For example, you have a project startup idea from one of your MTech student in AI. So in AI, you are having only little bit facility and also the knowledge. So in that case, which is the company which is doing that application successfully? So you need to definitely contact them. So they will give mentoring support. Apart from that, whether there are any other incubation facility or acceleration facility in other institutions, higher educational institutions like above you have IITs, NITs, in that institutions, whether these kind of startups are already there or not. So they would have had an experience of nurturing these kind of startups. and they would have got some lessons in that is nurturing that startup. So you should have link, and always collaboration is the key. SDG 17 says that collaborations and partnership is the key to success. So here it is not only your incubation facility that should support the student, your incubator should have connection with external agencies wherever that appropriate agencies. It can be a corporate, it can be a government department, it can be another incubator, it can be even acceleration, it can be a government incubation policy related department. So anything it can be. So you need to have a Pakka network to support the incubator startups in your department or college. Then third important point here for creating innovation pipeline and pathways for entrepreneurs is connecting student entrepreneurs with who incubate startups for internship. For example, so students will always find it very difficult to start a particular idea. So in that case, what is the idea we can give is we can allow them to go as an intern in startup businesses. So there are a lot of startup businesses which are available in India. So before you start off your own, you can choose the area in which you have idea. Then you can work as an intern. You can allow your student to work as an intern, which will give you vast experience, how startup can be developed, clear how it can be started. All this stuff you can learn, and without any loss of money or efforts. At the same time, startups are always having lack of resources. So they will also be finding it very easy to provide this experience to you at the same time without any cost. So it's a win-win situation for the new students who wanted to start on their own. They should first come forward to work as an intern. Then this will definitely enable you to get experience sharing and encouraging participation of students in innovation and business plan competition. So another way, in if you are having MBA department, so the MBA students can come up with business plan competition and organize a lot of competition and hackathon on campuses. Hello?
Abbas Erragudi, please mute your.
Can I continue?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
So the second important point in the strategy and governance is building organizational capacity, human resources, and incentives. So every educational institution should recruit staff that have a strong innovation and entrepreneurial and industrial experience, behavior, attitude, because this will definitely help in fostering the innovation and entrepreneurship agenda and culture in higher educational institution. I can give one live example. You know the IIT Madras, which is very, very successful in converting majority of the faculty into entrepreneurs. 17 faculty are now running their own startups, and they are very successful in doing that. And you know, there is a Gokul Deshpande Entrepreneurship Development Center available in IIT Madras, and in which they have a Chief Innovation Officer who has 25 years of experience from TCS and many other sectors, right? And he is the Chief Innovation Officer, Mr. Shiva Subramaniam. You can also contact him. So these kind of people your institute should bring in. So you should have a person who could definitely or who can surely help you in carrying out or taking forward your I&E agenda. Clear? Then faculty and developments of the institute have to work in coherence and cross-departmental linkage, and maximum utilization of internal resources and knowledge should be ensured, because you know faculty, you know, they think that their department is a watertight department. So now in our department, I can give my own example. We started MBA data analytics, and we are going to start it's a integrated course on BSc Data Science and MBA in Data Analytics. So this is in response to new educational policy. So we need to collaborate with the Computer Science Department, Statistics Department, Mathematics Department, then MBA department. So the collaboration and cross-departmental linkages are very, very important, because I have a community challenge, I have a corporate challenge, but how I can bring a solution, because it might require little bit of psychology, it might require little bit of artificial intelligence, it might require little bit of management expertise, or it might involve some legal perspective. So the cross-departmental linkages are very, very important. That should be ensured. So now you should think of going out of your department, how we can have collaboration with the different department, because you are having the technical knowledge and the people are having the common problem. So using the technology, whether this common problem can be solved with the management approach or computer science, so you can just think of. Faculty and staff should be encouraged to do courses, training, certificates on innovation, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property rights. So your college is on the right path. You are now organizing this webinar. All the faculty and students would come to know what are all the things available in this policy. So training, a lot of trainings, free trainings are going on, provided by Niti Aayog and many other institutions, and you can get certification so that you can also become a certified trainer in these areas. And next point you should concentrate is to retain talent. Institutes, higher education institutions should develop academic and non-academic incentives and reward mechanisms for all faculty, staff, and stakeholders. So how this can be done? You can think of academic and non-academic incentives. Non-academic, I mean, academic means what? Promotions. Non-academic means some kind of incentives or some kind of facilities can be extended to the staff or faculty who are really contributing to the innovation and entrepreneurship culture. Then performance metrics should be developed and used for evaluation as part of annual performance, and contribution of faculty or staff towards achieving innovation and entrepreneurship agenda should be part of the matrix. So all along we have not been giving this importance to I&E. Now we should have a weightage in our career advancement or any kind of system. We should bring this annual performance as part of annual performance weightage for this I&E component. Then the third important feature in the first point is collaboration, co-creation, and business relationship and knowledge exchange. So institutes should develop a policy or guideline document for forming and managing the relationship with external stakeholders, including private industry. So here what I mean is you need to have your own college policy or guideline document, because I already told the first important feature is you need to have your own policy in line with the national and state policy, innovation and startup policy. So if I have to collaborate with some industry, MOU I want to have with a particular company, what is the procedure? I should know as a faculty. I should not just go pillar to the post and just waste my time. So you have a policy. These are all the guidelines. If you are using the resources of the university or college, these are the sharing ratio. If you are doing consultancy directly going to the industry, then what is the sharing ratio? So the policy on consultancy, training, everything should be available. The knowledge exchange through collaboration and partnership should be made as part of institutional policy. So in the policy, collaboration and partnership should be included, and how it should be done, all the details should be, manual should be created. Then mechanisms should be devised by the institute to ensure maximum exploitation of entrepreneurial opportunities with industrial and commercial collaborations. Then knowledge development should be done by the institute through development of innovation knowledge platforms using ICT capabilities, repository of ideas, then proof of concepts, innovations and startups that can be managed through this platform. Now coming to the second important feature, norms for faculty and student driven innovations and startup. This is what you will be more interested to know what is available in the policy. So first division here is incentivizing students for innovation and entrepreneurship. So not all students will be interested in that. So that is why the government has taken a very conscious step to promote this culture of innovation and entrepreneurial mindset among the students. So higher educational institution should establish process, clear guidelines and mechanisms for easy creation and nurturing of startups or enterprises by students. It may be UG student, PG student or PhD student, and also faculty and also staff, that is your administrative staff of higher educational institutions, by setting up a committee and working committees on very many issues. So what are the committees should cover? First one is allowing students to set up startup. So it can be a social entrepreneurship startup, or tech startup, or non-tech startup, or working part-time for the startup while studying, or working as an intern. So the committee should clearly give a guideline that whether student can directly go and start a particular idea. So directly going and starting a startup, or you want to work part-time in a startup, or you just want to work as an intern. So for these three things, what are the guidelines available? You should have a clear-cut policy. Then second is, so these things are available, you can choose either one of these as a student, right? Then allowing students to earn credit for working on innovative prototype or business model. So it is not only enough, it is marks are given only for memory-based evaluation. Whatever they write in the answer script, we are giving marks, and accordingly credits are given. So now if any one student or scholar is working on very, very important business model or innovative prototype technology, then for that credits can be given. So allowing students to earn credit, but the student should inform the particular committee that I am working on this particular innovative model. Please, you consider my innovative model for granting credit. So academic credit bank system has been brought out by new educational policy. So in that it can also be included. Then third important thing is student innovators or entrepreneurs may be allowed to opt for startup in place of minor project or major project, seminars and summer training. So always every professional course will have some kind of projects, minor, major, we call it by different names. So instead of these projects, students can be allowed to opt for starting their own ideas. Clear? So that alternate can be allowed. Then allowing student entrepreneurs to take a semester break or year break to work on their own startup. So if a person is a student is having a very good worthwhile idea, then he feels that now he wanted to hit the track now. So what he or she can do is she can take a break from the semester or even a year. That is officially now allowed in the startup policy. They can work in their startup, and after that 1 year they can come back and complete their degree. So this break is available in the new policy. Then allowing student entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs to sit for examination. So what they have to do, institute need to set up a minimum attendance, and after reviewed by the committee on case-to-case basis. For example, one student chooses to start on her own or his own. Clear? In that case, what is the minimum attendance? Normally we say 70% is the attendance to be put up by a candidate under choice-based credit system. So here, if you are an entrepreneurial student, you can even have only 50%, and you may be allowed to write an examination. So here the committee has to bring out these rules and regulations to encourage these entrepreneurial activities. Then allowing student entrepreneurs to use the address of hostel or a pre-incubation or incubation unit to register their venture while studying at the institution. So you are studying in this SUV college, right? And you wanted to start your own idea. You want to have your own startup, and you are staying in the hostel. So that hostel address can be given as a your unit, incubation unit's address, right? Registration can be done giving that address. So these are the ideas which will definitely encourage students and faculty to take entrepreneurial activity. And once they decide to take, then next comes incentivizing faculty. Faculty, what are the things available? So what we have seen in B1 is for students, now for faculty. So allowing faculty to start startup based on the technology developed in the lab at the institute, your own institute, or previously developed somewhere else, but have no ownership on IP. If technology based startups are there, so you can either develop your own technology in the college where you're working, or if you have developed something in the previous institute or in your previous experience, but you are not owning intellectual property for that. Clear? Because the technology belongs to the earlier institution. So in that case, you can develop, you can start your own company using the technology. Of course, if you are developing in your lab, IP will be with you. If you have not developed in your present college, then the IP will be with the earlier institution, but you can get some permissions and then you can start your own. Then second important thing is allow faculty and staff to take off for a semester, year as a semester or 1 year. You can take leave, sabbatical leave, unpaid leave, casual leave, earned leave. Any leave of this type can be availed for working on startup and come back. So like how they are allowing students a semester or year, faculty can also take a break. Then no restrictions on shares that staff and faculty can take as long as they don't spend more than 20% of office time. Now you people may have a doubt whether I can have a shares on, whether I can invest in startup, right? So if you are not having any, you are not spending more than 20% of your office time on the startup, what is the role that you can have? You can be an advisor, you can be a consultant. Here you are not receiving salary, you are just getting a fee for advising or consultant. And if you are not compromising with the existing academic and administrative duties or work, then there is no problem, there is no restriction or number of shares or the amount of shares value you hold on a particular startup. And in case of faculty or staff who is drawing salary from the institute, institute stake or equity on the startup should be limited to 20% of the total share of the faculty or staff, or 9.5% of the total stake, whichever is minimum. So every incubator can also have 2 to 9.5% stake in any startup. If you are an incubator, you can have, but here it is for the faculty. In case of faculty who is drawing salary from the institute, so how much your college can have a stake in your startup? So it is 20% of the total share, okay, or 9.5%, whichever is minimum. Then third important thing in the second feature is norms for faculty startup. This you will be more interested because we are very much confused whether I can start my own company, whether I can earn profit out of it or not. So all these confusions are prevailing. So for that they brought a very clear cut, because earlier as a government employees we cannot be part of the company board and other things, but now everything is allowed. So role of faculty while teaching may be as owner, founder, co-founder, director promoter, advisor, mentor, consultant, but not as an employee. Clear? You should not hold in a position of an employee like CEO, general manager or AGM, clear, or a manager. Like that you should not, but you can be a owner, founder, co-founder, director promoter, advisor, mentor, consultant, but cannot take up the role of employee as CEO or other managerial role in your startup, and you cannot draw salary from the startup, okay, and you cannot accept gifts from his or her, from your startup. And what you can do, you can take share on profit and dividend only if any from the startup, okay, because you are the owner, you are getting some share of profit. If the startup is coming up very well, very, very important point, because you have lot of research projects which are being run by the faculty. So you have to clearly separate and distinguish ongoing research at the institute. For institute, you are doing some research project that should be completely differentiated from the startup project, okay? So ongoing research at the institute from the work conducted at the startup or company. So what is your startup project? What is your research project which you are doing for the college? You please clearly differentiate, because both should not be mixed up. Then in case selection for acceleration or incubation, the faculty may take sabbatical leave or other leave up to 1 semester. This already I told, based on the committee's recommendation. So your idea is getting selected. Your college incubation or your college accelerator is ready to support your startup by giving or by investing money in your startup. In that case, you may take enough leave to carry on that particular idea. So with the committee will be there, working committees are there, that will recommend your case, and you can take leave and try your idea, then you can come back after it is successful. Then faculty must not involve research staff, other staff engaged in academic projects of institute in activities at the startup. This is why they are differentiating research projects. We will be having lot of research assistant, resource associates, right? And if you are having a startup project, please don't mingle together. So if you have your startup project and related staff separately, your research project related staff separately. So these are the three things in the second point. Then third important thing is incubation and pre-incubation support, facility creation and access. So for any idea, you need lot of support. What kind of support? So creation of pre-incubation and incubation. So first thing is you need to create your own company, right? You need to have your own Section 8 company, special purpose vehicle we call it, right? So every institution should have an incubation facility, and that incubator should be an SPV. So if you want to get any grant from government agencies, it should be a Section 8 company. Section 8 company is a special company which is exclusively created for the purpose of promotion of arts, culture, research, development. So the main feature of the Section 8 company is it will not distribute any profit. Whatever it is also called as not for profit company. That doesn't mean that the company cannot earn profit, but whatever the profits you earn, that should be used for the main objectives of the company for which the company is established. That is what we call it a Section 8 company. And the Pondicherry University Step Up Hub is a Section 8 company, and I am one of the board member of that particular company. So here our particular aim is to promote startup, innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem in the university among students, faculty, alumni and staff. Okay. And the second important point is pre-incubation and incubation support. So whenever any person is having idea, one is you need to first check whether the idea is worthwhile to incubate. So pre-incubation support, and once it is decided that yes, it's a very good idea, then it has to be given support like lab facilities or some kind of consultancies on a legal, forming a company or technology, all those stuff. So you always attach with nearest incubation unit if something is not existing in your campus. So every institution should have its own incubator facility. Clear? Like Pondicherry University has now Push. Any person who wanted to incubate the idea can come directly to Push and get all the support whatever they need. So if you're not having your incubation facility, then you can go to other institutions where the incubation facilities are available. So what actually they do? Promotion and intensification of technology, commercialization efforts, and allow licensing of IPR from institute to startup incubated at incubation unit. And normally this kind of incubation facilities should be accessible 24/7 by the students, staff, faculty of all discipline, all departments across the institute. So it is not that 9 to 5 like that, because startup is a continuous activity, innovation, your ideas can come anytime. So here it is a 24/7 facility wherein all supports are given. Then provision and streamline relevant services and mentoring support through pre-incubation or incubation units. Normally when we provide marketing support, financial support or legal support or forming a company support or technology support, lab support. So here what do we expect as an institution? So if I'm having incubator Push, so if somebody asks for a space, I will ask for rent. Okay, so it can be a fee, it can be a rent, and in case if they want money, I will become an equity holder. My incubator will become a take a stake, equity sharing, or sometimes it is zero payment basis. In case the idea is even the incubator is the facilities itself is not having any financial support. In that case, just we can only provide the services, maybe 2 months, 3 months, only mentoring can be provided. Then in return of services offered, what the incubators would give, as I told you, you can give a space for startup people. Then you can provide infrastructure. For example, in case of tech startups, they want high-speed internet connections with work table. Then mentorship, for example, some specific industry sector require experts from different industries. So mentors can be identified and they can be connected with the innovators. Then seed fund can be provided to try out your idea. Then accounting and legal and patent related services you can provide, because you will be having lot of mentors and experts in your incubator, so that whoever wants any kind of these services can be provided. And use of facilities at the institution or incubation unit may take 2 to 9 points. This I have already told you. I am part of the push. Push can take each and every startup. We can take 2 to 9.5% equity stake in the startup company, which is incubated under push. So if you're having your own incubator center, so you can, if some startup is incubated, means you can have maximum of 9.5% equity in your in that particular startup company. And in case of compulsory equity, so there are some incubation facilities wherein compulsory equity to be given by the incubator, that is the incubator has to give seed fund. Startup may be given a cooling period of 3 months to use the incubation services on a rental basis to take final decision. So they have not decided whether to allow the incubator to have a stake. For example, I am having a startup idea. I don't want to give any kind of stake to your incubator. So in that case, what I can do, I can use the facilities on a rental basis for 3 months. If I'm happy with your mentoring and other things, then I can allow the incubator to take 9.5% maximum stake. Then fourth important thing is IP ownership rights for technologies developed at higher education institution. So if fund or resource of higher education institution is used substantially, then for example, your institution's laboratories are used, you are using the institutional funding, then the IPR, intellectual property rights, should be made jointly by your institute and the inventor, the researcher who is creating it, and licensed together, and revenue sharing among the parties. So hope your institute will be having the sharing policy, right? How much? So if you are using the laboratory of your college, then the institute should also hold that IPR right? If any one inventor wanted to start a startup based on the technology developed, using the facility, then it can be licensed to inventor with royalty, which would be no more than 4% of sale price, preferably 1 to 2%, unless it is pure software project. So these are all the things, more specific things, which I am not discussing here. And if it is in the form of shares, it will again between 1 to 4%. In case software share divide is based on the mutually decided between the institute and incubation unit and incubated company. And if there are any disputes, then we can have a 5-member committee in the institute, and which will definitely look into the matter and recommend what is the revenue sharing and licensing policy. As per the policy, whether they have done it or not, any dispute can be resolved. And interdisciplinary research and publication on startup and entrepreneurs should be promoted by all the educational institutions. Then coming back to the fifth point, pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development, how entrepreneurship culture can be brought into our pedagogy and learning outcomes. So adopting and producing desirable learning outcomes. For example, if there are 50 students in a particular class, how many students are turning into entrepreneurs? So at least 10 students are becoming an entrepreneur. They are starting on their own company. So your curriculum should have all these outcomes. Their outcome-based education is what is now focused on. So adopting and producing desirable learning outcomes as part of curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities level. Then creating and publishing toolkit on innovation and startup and IPR for open access to students and faculty, because nobody should have any doubt on the procedures, policy, rules to be followed, leave to be taken, whatever. If they have any doubts, that should be readily available. Whether your institute has any kind of this manual available for innovation and startup, or IPR, I have some innovation, how to register it as a intellectual property, right? Clear how to get a patent, how to get a copyright. So these things should be clearly available to the students and faculty. So institutes can go for publishing a manual or toolkit. Then student clubs and bodies on innovation and IPR and startup must be established and engaged. So already every B schools, no, we have our own startup club, entrepreneurship club, and you can have your own AI club. Clear, in engineering college, you have lots of branches of engineering. So these student academic clubs and other bodies can be started or established to encourage the startup culture or entrepreneurial culture. Then again, every institute should start recognizing and giving innovation and entrepreneurship awards to best achievers from campus annually. So to motivate them, why people should come forward, because it is not enough if everybody goes to a company getting a good job, because engineers always get placed at the 4th year, right? And so here, when people are trying on their own, they should be encouraged, and more should be allowed, more should be encouraged to come forward. So to do that, you should introduce some kind of awards annually and confer gold medals kind of awards during the convocation ceremony. That is the person, the student who has really come up with a very innovative technology. So these kind of students and faculty can be encouraged in a big functions like convocations. Then teaching on tolerating and encouraging failures should be taught to the students and faculty. Here, no, because startup is not an easy path, right? Because we have lot of hurdles. It is full of thorns, and sometimes it is floods for some people, right? So we need support of family, friends, and incubation facilities, ecosystem, so many things. So how one can tolerate and encourage failure? So failure is a stepping stone, no? So one should not give up, and because there are incubators which are ready to support even if you fail, right? So in that case, how this can be taught to the student? There should be some kind of training, like people should not give up. They should try again and again and come out successfully with their innovative ideas. Then creating awareness among students and teaching methods should include case studies of real business stories of failure and success, experiential learning. This is what our B schools are doing, who have started new companies, how they were successful, what difficulties they have faced. So if any student has an idea to start in any industry, then who are the people already started? So those case studies, real business stories can be given to them. They can get some insights into based on the experience what they have had while starting on their work. Then pedagogy changes need to be done to ensure the maximum number of students, projects, and innovations are based on that is around life change challenges. So what are the real challenges the community and corporate are facing? Are we addressing these challenges? So when you are allowing the students to take projects, don't allow them to take some sake of doing some projects, some data collection, all those stuff, whether real challenges can be solved or not. So it should be constantly reviewed and updated. Then start a part-time or full-time MS, MBA, PGDM on innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture development courses, which can be offered through incubation units as per the AICTE, because AICTE has taken over to develop this entrepreneurship culture among the faculty and students. So your incubation unit can think of offering this kind of courses to the students. And finally, entrepreneurial performance impact assessment. So we are saying that all these things are to be done by the higher educational institution. Then whether the outcome has really been reached or not, one should have an assessment, right? So this is what we call it as entrepreneurial performance impact assessment, whether we have created any impact and whether we created entrepreneurial performance, and that impact has been assessed, how it can be assessed. Clear? So whether you can say number of startups graduated, number of startups failed, clear? Number of startups which got seed funding, number of startups which got awards, number of hackathons your people have won, number of competitions, business plan competitions your students have won. So there should be some kind of metrics which can be used for doing this impact assessment. So performance analysis of services and facilities on a regular basis should be done. So as an incubator, you should have maximum facilities, and whether that facilities are getting updated on a regular basis or not. Because when we started our own incubation facility, we have work table, we have internet connections, we have some big rooms to be given for different types of startups. But later I come to know that there are a lot of bio startups which are requiring some lab facilities. So can we improve that particular facility or not? Then second important thing is development of key performance indicators. So as I already told you, number of startups, number of patents, number of publications, joint publications, number of collaborations, number of MOUs. You can think of all these performance indicators which would talk about the innovation and entrepreneurial agenda which is being reached. Then very important last thing is focus on input, process, output, outcome and impact level. So input is what we are having, doing, right? What we are actually investing. Maybe you have your own incubation facility. Here you may have your own curriculum. You may have your own mentors. These are all the inputs, right? Then process, what we actually do and what is coming out, graduation of startups. Clear? And the outcome means really whether the startup has addressed some challenges or not. Then whether the challenge has been addressed and some impact has been created or not. So these are the things which could come under performance impact assessment. And to conclude, what I would like to say is there is no denying the fact that Indian education system, though one of the credible ones among developing nations, left a lot to be desired, especially on the entrepreneurial front. To keep pace and plug gaps, the government of India has replaced 34-year-old national policy on education with the National Education Policy of 2020, popularly called as NEP. So the NEP, as approved by the Union Cabinet, on the one hand promises to make sweeping reforms in education and research, whereas on the other hand it aims to create new possibilities for lifelong learning, besides making it industry oriented with emphasis on entrepreneurship. So the overarching goal of the entrepreneurial revolution has been woven in the national education, that is new education policy, in the sense that it aspires to make young generation more imaginative, more innovative, ingenious, proactive, pioneering, prospect oriented. So this is at the core of entrepreneurship and is also a competence that all demography increasingly need to have in today's milieu, regardless of career choice. So startups are going to be the backbone of New India. Ecosystems of startup is encouraging innovation, promoting and strengthening new young entrepreneurs, businesses with new ideas, new ways of doing businesses. I have no doubt in my mind that your institute will be a part of our journey of a new India, of transforming India and building a more powerful India. I do hope that as we go forward, you will engage more with the government organizations such as Niti Aayog to transform Indian businesses and commerce and move towards making India a prosperous and developed nation. And I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share the features of national innovation and startup policy. If you have any questions or discussion, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
madam. Thank you.
Dr. Jayashankar ji particularly for referring me to this job. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, thank you so much, madam. Really, you had given lots of information. Especially now the MHRD and AICTE, they made mandatory each institute, higher education institute, should have a document on NISP. That's the reason I was craving for the information to know about it. Because you have given very clear insights about NISP, institute if they want to start, which are like, we are in the budding stage only, we can say that. Okay, but the examples you have given about IIT Madras and the way how you are, like initially how you thought of incubator, how it is going to be and how it has transformed. I think real examples you have given, ma'am. Thank you
Yeah,
so
in our
much.
university itself, 2006, they had a startup center and we were one among the 11 institutes of national importance to get 10 crore funding. But they put a condition that we have to form a Section 8 company. But we could not form the company during that time. So that time the project got transferred from DST to Niti Aayog. Then the time got over, we could not form a company. Then we took 3 years to make this process. And in 19, we formed this Pondicherry University Step Up Hub, a Section 8 company. And we started applying to a lot of government grants like DBT. They are giving in crores all the funding to promote this incubation and incubation, pre-incubation thing. So ours, we applied Atal Community Innovation Center and now we are selected for establishing Atal Community Innovation Center with 2.5 crore funding from Niti Aayog and a matching grant from a funding partner. So we are addressing all the community challenges through the technology. It is all about social entrepreneurship. So you can also apply for these funding. You can just browse through the Atal Innovation Mission website, which gives all the information about the funding available to all the educational institutions apart from DST, DBT, all other institutions. Again, I told 4 types of resources. One is this government funding. Second is now every institute, your own institute should devote 1% of the total budget. So the owners and the higher ups authorities are now getting this information. It is already available in the policy. Now it is high time that we should implement that. So if your institute budget is say 100 crore, 1 crore should be devoted for startup and innovation. Then CSR funds can be tapped. Then donations can be tapped. All these are available for supporting the startup and innovation.
Okay. Thank you so much, madam. But